The truth about being a tattoo apprentice and what red flags to spot and avoid, at least from my experience. Being a tattoo apprentice was my goal for 4 years, and after I finally finished my portfolio, I decided to walk into a shop of my choice. The artist gave me a shot to apprentice under them after a short talk and look at my portfolio, and they really liked my work. We made an agreement that I can come into the shop on my free time. I had a job that was full time, 5 days a week. So I just came in either before work or sometimes on my days off, and would go in there and help out the shop. I started cleaning the shop and just learning how a shop ran, and then I learned setting up a tattoo station and breaking down, and learned a little bit about bloodborne pathogens and cross-contamination. And as an apprentice, you'll need to know that going in. That's something that's just, you can't do a tattoo without knowing that. So after that, I started to watch the tattooing process being done maybe 2-3 times a week, maybe a little bit more than that. And it was just that for the next 5 months, and then just setting up and breaking down. Remember, a tattoo apprenticeship is usually unpaid, so just be aware of that. I think after about month 2, I was asked to quit my 5-day-a-week full-time job that had benefits, pretty decent health insurance, dental, vision, and 401k that the company matched. Not bad. They told me this was the only way the apprenticeship could move forward, is the only way it would work out, is that they needed me there 5 days a week from 12 to 7 p.m. I didn't know how I was going to make ends meet, but I knew I had to just take out my 401k. That's the only way I could make it. Just think about it. This is what I wanted to do since I was a child, is to be an artist, is to work as an artist. And I was in the process of doing that. So I said, yeah. I don't know why I did at that moment, but you have to understand that I wanted it so bad. So I said yeah, and I quit my job. So about after 3 months being there, I realized that all I really did was watch someone tattoo for hours, and you could only get so much knowledge out of watching someone tattoo. For you to do it is what's necessary. And it was just months and months of just doing that and setting up and breaking down several different artists' different setups for months and months. And that's all I did. I could set up and break down all their stations in my sleep. It was it's something I'll never forget. So there was no incremental learning for like 3-4 months. There was no incremental learning. I had learned a bunch of stuff, and I just kept on doing the same stuff for months and months. Now, that's not how you learn. So an apprenticeship shouldn't, any type of thing that you're learning you should never stop learning and then just keep learning the same thing over and over. Just imagine having a teacher make you take the same test over and over and over again. Now you can argue, well, that's just to make sure that you know the information. You knew the information. You got 100 on it 5 times. Why would you need to take it another 5 times? You know what I mean? It makes no sense. That's not how learning works. I should know. I learned the fundamentals for 9 years. I'm talking about anatomy and values and form and perspective, all that composition, designing skills. I've learned all this over 9 years. I know what it is to learn incrementally, because that's what happens when you take on bigger and newer challenges and harder things. You have to step it up little by little, incrementally. That's how it works. This wasn't happening in the shop, and that was a red flag. So that's 1 or 2 red flags right there, right? Another thing is, I was practicing at home for months and months, and I had mentioned that, and the artist asked me not to do that. I don't know why I agreed, but I honored that. Don't use your machine. You're gonna learn bad habits. I get that, but how about I can use what you're teaching me here in the shop, where I can go home and do it? He just for some reason didn't want me to do it. I guess that would work in other industries, but I don't think it works in tattooing. You need to do it over and over again, repetition. Just imagine if someone told someone who played basketball, and I'm not comparing the two, don't take your basketball home, you know what I mean, don't practice. How does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. It's just something. It's another thing of control. I don't know what that was about, but that was a red flag too. It's crazy because I had used my machine for 3 years. I mean, all the time. I was perfectly comfortable with it. It should never happen. You should always be able to use your machine. Never agree to that. Always take your machine home with you. That's another red flag, is they kept my machine in their toolbox. Why? I don't know. Probably to make sure that I didn't use it. I mean, the reason why any apprentice, why you would walk into a shop is because you need extra critical knowledge, like like cross-contamination and setting up and breaking down a station properly and cleanly, and how a shop works, and how to maneuver the body, and how to control it while you're lining or whatever you're doing, or you're shading, and to stretch the skin, and how to light it properly. These are all the things that you're walking into the shop for, those extra little tidbits of information that will help you. Now again, some apprentices like you may need more time or less time. It's all up to you on how much you're learning. But here's the thing, it's all up to the artist who is apprenticing you. It is also their responsibility. Your growth is their responsibility. That's why they took you on. It's not just on you. They can't put that blame on you. They're the ones that are teaching you. So understand that if they try to put the blame on you of why you're not learning, they should be teaching you. If they're good, if they want to teach someone, you should be able to teach someone. You should have the skill to teach someone. If you're not a good teacher, you shouldn't take on apprentices. After 6 months of just watching people tattoo, not touching any skin, after 6 months of my life, do the math, that's not a short time. And then also just setting up and breaking down, which is all important, I get it, but this is someone who has 9 years of fundamentals under their belt. I'm not talking myself up, I'm just saying my fundamentals are strong. I know what I'm doing when I'm drawing or designing something. I walked in there for the knowledge that a tattoo artist has working with a machine and real skin. After 6 months, I tattooed my first 4 or 5 clients. It was going great that first couple weeks into that 6 months. The third week, I think I tattooed 1 or 2 people. I think we were closed for the holidays or something like that. And I looked at my bank account and I had just about nothing left, and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna go broke if I don't work more hours. So what happened was I didn't ask. I told the artist in question who was apprenticing me that I'd need to work more hours. Look, here's the thing, I'm not asking anyone. I'm not asking for permission. I'm not asking for approval. This is not like I'm big and bad and this is my shop. No, I had approached the person and said, look, I need to work more hours. I'm going broke, and hopefully, and I use key buzzwords, hopefully it's up to you. So the artist in question also asked me to get a bank loan or borrow money from them. I don't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. I won't do that. It just goes against my personal values. There's nothing wrong with helping people. There's nothing wrong with letting people borrow money. I didn't want to do that personally, and that's up to me. Set me down for a sit down and just berated me for like 30-40 minutes. I don't know why, for what reason. I didn't do anything wrong, wasted my time pretty much, and said I'm done there at the shop. And this person just did not like how I approached them and informed them, which is the good thing to do, that I'm going broke and I need to make more money. They weren't having it. They had me leave the shop. The artist, in fact, did not need me there 5 times a week from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. Why do you need me there, especially when I'm not making any money, and you're not teaching me anything new for 5 months? You need me there to sit down and listen to early hip hop and take 2 calls a day, and usually at least one of them is whether or not we have piercers, which we didn't. I think it was about someone not getting their way. And again, this person can run their shop however they want to run their shop. And if they think they're right, then they're right within their shop. Doesn't mean they're right, objectively, but that's how they wanted to deal with it. To get an apprenticeship is you come to an agreement, and it doesn't mean it's going to work out, but you don't ask someone to quit their job. And I think it was questionable to ask me to get rid of my livelihood at the time, and I did, and I took a gamble and I lost, and that's on me, and I take full responsibility. But that wasn't okay. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't okay to ask me that, but I think they knew how much I wanted it. So we're going to talk about the red flags that you'll want to avoid, and that I learned through just my own cautionary tale. The red flags sound like a cliche from a horror apprenticeship that you hear from maybe your friends or online or social media or on YouTube, but they indeed did happen. I was sent to pick up food for them several times when they were just sitting down, didn't have any clients, didn't have anyone they were talking to, weren't doing anything, were just sitting down on their phone scrolling on Instagram. They asked me to just do it, and because again I wanted it so bad, I was like, yeah. And that was another red flag. I was like, oh gosh, it's turning into this. And it got worse. I was asked to pick them up and take them home several times after a full day. So I'd wake up earlier, go get them, spend a full day at the shop, go take them back home. It's another red flag. The artist in question constantly commented negatively, unsolicited, about gave critiques on other artists in the shop tattoos, their work. Now that shouldn't be. They're already getting their 40 or 50% from these artists, like, you know, rent or whatever, their space or whatever, their booth. You know, it's not your business to comment, you know what I mean, unless they ask you to. That's another red flag. Talking negatively about rotary machines, kind of loyal to the coil talk that you hear all the time. It's like, if an artist wants to use that machine and they do good work with that machine, what does it matter what type of machine they use? Now they can have suggestions, but at the end of the day, to talk negatively and to say that rotary machines just aren't as good as coils, like, that's your opinion, man, right? You know, but at the end of the day, if they want to use it and they're bringing in clients and they do good work, what does it matter? That's another red flag. There's another red flag is they believed traditional to be necessary to do tattoos. That is a red flag and a myth. It is not necessary. It's maybe been necessary back in the day, but now it's the styles have changed so much, and tattooing has evolved so much that you see anime tattoos, people only strictly doing anime, geometric, or just so many styles, right? Realism. They don't do traditional. You don't have to. They're making quite a good living without doing it. It's just some opinion from somebody who just doesn't want to let their favorite little thing go. And just, you know, it's not ironic because they did traditional and that's all they really did. So yeah, another red flag and a myth. Don't believe that. Yeah, whatever style you do, as long as you do it well and you're good with your client, you're clean, that's enough. Another huge myth I want to talk about to anyone who's interested in doing tattoos or someone who was looking for a shop. It's a myth that you can only learn tattooing in a shop. You can learn it, and there's been a lot of professional artists who say they learned at home. They either learned on fake skin or they're just tattooing themselves. Again, you should learn the proper, bloodborne pathogen and health and sanitary practices before you do that. And there's a lot of YouTube videos on it, and there's a lot of things that you can buy to make sure that you are doing tattoos in the cleanest possible environment. Just know that you can learn your general fundamentals on fake skin and then eventually get into a real apprenticeship with a reputable and open-minded artist who likes your work for your work. And you have to make sure you come to agreements with this artist and have to and just ask them how it's going to go. I didn't do that. I was so worried about getting into a shop, so that's my fault. I take full responsibility of what happened to me, not from the choices, their bad choices, but I could have walked away, and I didn't do that, and it's my fault. And a lot of the time that was wasted was my fault. I could have walked away. That's what it is. Doesn't mean that that person wasn't wrong, which that's up to you to decide. I have my own opinions. At the end of the day, tattooing is only one thing, and it always will be. It's ink set in the skin in a clean and sanitary and safe environment. That's it. That's all it ever will be until the end of time. It doesn't have to be traditional, it doesn't have to be realism, it doesn't have to be anime, it doesn't have to be neo-traditional, it doesn't have to be whatever style you do. If you do it well and you're good with the clients, you do good designs, that's all it should be. And please do your best to find a shop that fosters an environment of artistic freedom and support and not control and stigma. Tattooing should be a job about art and drawing and ink and being the best artist you can be for your clients. Thanks for watching.